Okay, it looks like we are live early, a little bit early, just a touch early, about 5 minutes early. And this is a trip down memory lane. And I've also got Rolex in the title because for the first 40 years of my luxury watch wearing days, I was wearing primarily Rolex, a couple of Omegas in the mix. Okay, it looks like. And the audio does sound good. Brianna, the lovely Brianna is in the house. And I'm honoring Brianna because I'm wearing purple today. Her favorite color. So there you go. That's how that works. And again, just a little trip down memory lane today, and we're going to show some scenes and some watches from years gone past. Are you going to talk about your Rolexes? Yes, we will talk about some of those. Absolutely. And by the way, anybody that has some old pictures, got to be at least 10 years old, folks. Nothing last week. At least 10 years old of you wearing a high-end watch, any kind of high-end watch. Email it to me. My name, CraigShipp@gmail.com. CraigShipp, CraigShipp @gmail.com. Email the photo and we'll show them during today's show. This is going to be a trip down memory lane. This is watches from years ago, folks, and related photos. Some of these photos are not going to have watches in them. Some of them are just going to kind of set the tone or the timing and things like that. And then other pictures will actually have watches in them. Like the purple shirt, says Bree. There you go. Good afternoon, everyone. And of course, let us know if you want to call in a little bit later in the show, Bree. We'd love to have you Skype in if you're able to today, if you've got a connection that warrants it. Blues in the house. People are slowly but surely tumbling in. And I guess it's Monday, right? Monday, April 6th. 10 years ago, I was 15 and talking about superheroes. So maybe you didn't have one. Maybe your dad had one. Maybe you got a picture of a grandfather that had a watch, or your dad, or a friend, an older uncle. Any photos 10 years old or older? Our game here, folks. Hello to everyone from Denmark. Stig is in the house. And, of course, the mighty rat with a wrench, he was in there early. He was in early, absolutely. All right, so let's do this. Let's start with the first photo. And this photo is dated from 1998. And unfortunately, this one we can't see the watch that I was wearing. But this, I was at my apartment in the Promenade Towers in Bethesda, Promenade Towers, and I do still have that tie. I do still have that tie, and I've worn it a couple times on the show. You might recognize that. And that was an old laptop. I think it was a Dell or maybe an IBM ThinkPad. It was a thick, see that thick laptop? See the little antenna on it? That was for connectivity. I could actually connect with that to the cellular network. That was very rare to have connectivity on a laptop back in the day. So that's yours truly. And by the way, I still have that lamp and I still have that screen, that screen from Japan. That came from Japan. So some of the Grand Seiko people might appreciate that. Here's an oldie but a goodie. And Mark, the youngster in that photo, he was wearing a Rolex. That is a Rolex on his wrist. And that is an old friend of mine. And that's Mike to the right, his brother. And that's Mary Beth to the left, his gorgeous sister. And that is a dial-a-service display. That's the business I had. Those were in hotel lobbies. That one was in the Bethesda Holiday Inn. And there was a phone there that you could pick up and push a button. It was a Touchmatic 32. You could call any of those 32 advertisers on the left there in that grid. Those were all advertisers. And you could call them direct from the hotel lobby. And that was called dial-a-service. That was solid mahogany. We had that custom made for the lobby. And the advertisers paid an annual fee to advertise on that display. So that was back in the day. That's early 80s. Dial-a-Service was the company. I think around 1982 to around 84. And then I sold that out. And then here I am. That's an oldie but a goodie. And my little doggy, Hushin. Unfortunately, he chased a milk truck one too many times. And the milk truck got him, unfortunately. But look at that cool jacket that I was wearing there. Let me see. I think there's another one where you can see the tie. Yeah, look at that. And now see how short that jacket was? See how it's really short? That's the way the modern jackets are now. They're like little boys' jackets, right? So I was wearing a little boy's jacket there. So there you go. And that was my mom in that photo. And let's see. Here I am. Here's a closer shot. Not a great photo. I was talking in the middle of the photo, but there's the coat and tie. I like the pattern to that sport coat. That wasn't bad for a little kid to be wearing back in the day. Let's see. Hello to everybody from Denmark. I was 17 with a G-Shock 10 years ago. Okay, well, if you got a picture of you wearing it, we'll accept that. Craig, you've aged well. Well, thank you. Was two-tone that cool in the 80s, 90s? Some people had two-tone. We didn't prefer them. Most of us, my buddies and I, we either wanted all gold or just all steel. We didn't like the in-between, but there were some. You're going to see one picture in here. A friend of mine, Mike, had a two-tone, a Datejust, but he had to have it on a strap because his wrist was so huge. But you'll see a photo of that later on. Aren't you glad you didn't? You don't still live in Bethesda? My God, the way they drive there. Leon in the house. The Promenade Towers is a pretty nice complex, though, right there on the Beltway at 355. And I still have the website, promenadetowers.com, promenadetowers.com. I maintain that for a realtor friend of mine. He pays me, and I maintain that for him. I registered promenadetowers.com many, many years ago when I was living there. And hello from Panama, Carlos in the house. Okay, let's go to the next photo. Oh, yeah, this is an oldie but a goodie. You guys have seen this before maybe on the channel. This is out at the Potomac Polo Club, and that's yours truly, drinking out of that glass. And if you look carefully, you can see a president bracelet with a conventional clasp. That was one of my favorite day dates. The first one I got was 1803, had a conventional clasp, not the hidden clasp bracelet, and got it reasonably. It had a fair amount of play in the bracelet, stretch in the bracelet, or whatever term you want to use, but it ran good, and I enjoyed it. I wore that for several years, actually. And that's Laura Dodge in the background wearing the Ray-Bans. And the main street in Omaha, Nebraska is Dodge Street. That's named after her grandfather. She's a very wealthy young lady. And a friend of mine, actually, Mike, ended up marrying her. So he married into some serious, serious money. Laura Dodge. Okay, so let's go move along here a little bit. You got the new day date yet, Craig? Lamont is in the house. Craig, Blue. Carlos in the house. Craig, show Carlos the picture of your dog. Nice picture. Well, he's going to have to go back and catch up if he tuned in late. He's going to have to go back and check it out. You got the new day date yet? No, I didn't. Did you send me one, Lamont? Send it to me. I'll be happy to accept it. Mail it to me. You can mail it. You can overnight that. FedEx it to me. And I'll be happy to accept it. Carlos is in the house. Craig, what a jacket. There you go. Wow, a two-door full-size DeVille in the background. Well, there you go. Somebody's got some sharp eyes. That jacket is very 70s. Actually, that's a Madras jacket like that you could wear anytime. That's an Indian Madras jacket. That would be fine to wear today. All right, let's go on. And it was made by Corbin. This is my 1963 Chevrolet four-door hardtop with factory air conditioning. And notice the special reserve tag 1238 from Virginia on it. You're going to see that reoccurring on some other vehicles as we move along here. And that is my 1968 Chrysler 300 convertible. And that had a 440 dual exhaust, dual snorkel air cleaner. That was the 440 TNT in that car. That one would get up and crawl down the road. A lot of fun. Bucket seats. A lot of fun. And this is out at the Potomac Polo Club. That's James Brady. You may remember him. He was the one that was shot when Ronald Reagan was the attempted assassination on Ronald Reagan. He was shot, and he was there at the Potomac Polo Club talking about his foundation back in the day. So we're going to move along here, folks. We're going to move along. There's yours truly next to a 1968 Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow that I bought. It was barely running, but it did run, and we just bought it to flip it. I didn't drive it much or play with it much. It was just a flipper. And then you can see the day-date on wrist there when I'm relaxing on the roller, the Rolls-Royce. Okay, and so we're going to move along. There's the interior of the roller. And there I am standing next to it again with several other Rolls-Royce, and the other two are Princess limousines. The two Rolls-Royces there, I'm in between them, and then two Princess limousines that my buddy had for his limousine service. And he actually found me the Silver Shadow, but he didn't have the money to buy it, to flip it, so I ponied up, and we both made some money on that. So I'm, of course, have the Ray-Ban sunglasses in my hand, and, of course, the Motorola 8000X cellular phone up against the head. Does the Rolex Oyster bracelet stretch over time, too, or is it just the present bracelet? They all will over time, especially the gold Oysters or Jubilees will stretch. Absolutely they will. Craig, looks like a 007. Ever see a Nash Healy in your appraisal days? I've seen some at auction. Yes, absolutely. We saw the Nash Healys. I was never a fan of them, but yes, they were around. Absolutely. And I think some of them are pretty valuable now. Okay. So let's go back and let's go to the next photo. And this is the lovely Tara. And I was taking a photo of her. We did a little photo shoot. Lovely young lady that I spent quite a bit of time with back in the day. A lot of fun. And you can't see it in this photo, but she had a Rolex, a Lady Date Rolex that yours truly gave her. Let's see. Okay, I've read that. Now it takes about roughly 3 to 4 steel Rolex to buy one gold Rolex. Craig, back in your day, was this ratio? No, everybody wanted the gold Rolex. They didn't want steel. They weren't stupid back then. And here's the lovely Tara relaxing, and you can see the Rolex on wrist. So here we go, and there's a close-up of the lovely Tara, and another close-up. And there's the roller again. We're going to keep moving along. And there's yours truly in the foreground, and of course the Rolex on wrist. And that's John Harder next to me, the gray-haired gentleman, and you'll see some more pictures of him. He was an anchor at Channel 7 News here in town for a number of years, and he was their automotive specialist. He did a lot of road tests and all. He has since passed away. Unfortunately, a number of the people in these photos have passed away. Here's the 1977 Cadillac sedan, 7-passenger sedan. Did not have a division glass. It was a 7-passenger sedan, limousine, if you will. And again, notice those tags, 1239. So I had 1238 and 1239 reserve tags from Virginia at one point. And there's the jet boat that we're using, that we're pulling with the Cadillac. And that was in roughly 1986. That picture was taken, I believe. There's another picture of the Cadillac with the jet boat behind it and the 63 Chevy 4-door hardtop behind that with factory air. And that was my first house, that small Rambler on the left. That was a detached Rambler in Silver Spring, Maryland, actually more like Wheaton, Atherton Drive. And that one was my first detached house. I bought that after I moved out of the Promenade the first time. And then I sold it. I moved back into the Promenade. I had 2 different places, 2 different times. And here I am with the jet boat. And on wrist is the GMT with the Oyster bracelet. That was a Coke GMT. That was a Coke GMT. GMT II. GMT Master 2 in that picture. And of course, the Wayfarers with the strap, because if you look back, turn your head back to look back at the skier and you're going too fast, those puppies would come right off your head. Now, especially the regular Ray-Bans would come off, and those would too if you were going too fast. So you had to use the strap. There's another picture. My cousin to the right, he obviously was eating too many cheeseburgers back then. It's still the case now. There's the Rolex again. And in the background is Jeff Schmueller, and that was his place in Ocean Pines North in, I don't know if he's still alive or not, Ocean Pines North in Ocean City, Maryland. And Tina, and same watch. You can't really tell in the picture, but that is a Coke bezel on that one, and that is Tina. All right, we'll keep going. And here's a picture with John Harder and his wife, Ann, and that's also out at the Potomac Polo Club. Spent a lot of time out there on Sundays. And here we are at Admiral Day's house. My friend Richard also lived there, and that's not Edith, that's, what was his wife's name? Oh boy, can't remember now. Her daughter's name was Edith, but her name, well, it escapes me right now. But anyway, that's John Harder and Ann Harder in the middle. And Admiral Day, you can't really see it. It's reversed on his wrist, but that's an Oyster bracelet. He's wearing a Rolex on an Oyster bracelet, an older one, probably from the 60s. And Dorothy Day, that's her name, Dorothy. And that's the limousine in the background. Here I am now, I'm standing with them, and I've got the Rolex Day-Date on, and that's Dorothy and the Admiral Day. Bill is his first name. And, of course, the Cadillac limousine in the background. And there's Sylvester Stallone out at the Potomac Polo Club. And there is Paul Newman out at Summit Point Raceway in West Virginia, and he's wearing that famous Daytona on wrist. And that photo. All right, and there I am with a young lady. She had strange eyes, but she had a heck of a figure on her. I'll tell you what she did. I forget where we were going, but you can notice the Day-Date peeking out under the cuff there. Let me catch up on the, let's see here. Tara, color, okay. Hi, for the GS Diver case material 229 versus 231, which one is better? Oh my gosh, yes, go with the titanium, Nick. Go with the titanium, the 231, absolutely. Pretty young lady, Tara. Yes, Tara was absolutely gorgeous. Dave, hi, Clive. I'm having a hangover thinking of the fun you had at that time. Carlos in the house. Nice Cadillac. How do you like the Eldorados? We're going to show you a real nice Eldorado that I had, 1969. It was awesome. We're going to show it to you here in a little while. I can't afford it. I only got 8G in my bank checking, but I am owing money on my charge card. Uh-oh, that's not good. You want to save and invest. Save and invest. My dad has one Rolex. We'll have him donate that to the cause. How much EBT you got? What's EBT? I don't know what EBT is. I remember these Cadillacs, big V8, but only about 170 horsepower. Yeah, but they got along the road fine. So they had a lot of torque. They did fine. They performed great. Don't let those ratings fool you. Let's see, kind of like a Harley. Yeah, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to some Harleys. Okay, let's go back to the photos. And let's see here. That's Potomac Polo Club. That's an idea of the kind of food that they would serve there on a regular basis. And that gentleman, who you might recognize in the Ray-Bans in the background, actually I think those are prescription glasses he had, that is Paul Faupel. And that name might ring a bell because he's the one that I've sold several watches to over the years, including the red sub. It was probably on his wrist there, but we can't see it. It's blocked by the Mercedes 300 SE convertible. That's a four-seater Mercedes convertible. Those are very valuable right now if they're in decent shape. Very valuable, period. Let's see. So that is Paul, and you'll see another photo of him later on. So he's bought several watches for me, including, of course, the red sub and the 125th anniversary Omega. And there is Mary Beth, lovely Mary Beth. You're going to see some other photos of her. She is Jeannie's sister. You're going to see some more photos of Jeannie, and that was on Jeannie's wedding day. So Jeannie's another one that got away. And a matter of fact, there she is. There's Jeannie on her wedding day. She was absolutely stunning, Absolutely stunning. Not even debatable. Okay, and that is the living room area, whatever you would call it, in my small, that first house that I bought, that Rambler, all brick Rambler. That was living room. I still have that couch on the right. I still have that table in the foreground, that coffee table. I still have that chair. I still have a lot of that stuff. So there you go. And there is I think that was a 1981 or 82 R100 RT BMW, and the other is a 1984 R80 GS, the on-off-road one next to it. So two BMW motorcycles at that same house. There's the R80 GS out running it. And there's another shot. And then in the background, you can see the Mercedes. That was the 300D, I believe. And that one, again, see those tags? 1238 reserve tag out of Virginia. Very hard to get those. Anything below 2000, they keep in a filing cabinet the information at the commissioner's office. And they're not even in the normal computer, the normal DMV computer. If you get pulled over and they bring up that tag, it says, no information available, VIP use, contact Commissioner's Office, do not delay. So basically that means they just let you go. So that's how that works in Virginia. All right, so there's the Mercedes front view. I ran a lot of those. I ran 240Ds and 300Ds for a number of years, usually about 10 years old. And there's another view. And that car in the foreground is a Dodge Colt GT, believe it or not. Dodge Colt GT my girlfriend was driving at the time. Now, that was a brand new car that she bought brand new. And that red barn in the background there, that's where the two BMWs are sitting when not in use. Okay, and that's my buddy's house. We spent a lot of time there, especially after the Rockville Car Show, because it was very close to the Rockville Car Show, and also close to White Flint Mall in Rockville. And that's a big Mercury wagon with dual exhaust. You can see the steam coming out of both exhaust pipes, and we're getting ready to head up to somewhere to pick up a car. I forget where, but go somewhere to pick up a car on that trailer. Okay, and that was also, by the way, a BMW 2002 you see in the foreground. All right, so let's keep on going here. Oh, and there's what we picked up. We picked up that Mercury Cougar, and doesn't look like much, but I think that had a 428 Cobra jet in it. I think that was a pretty rare model of a Cougar. And so there you go. And there's a wider shot of that same scene, and you can see their Fleetwood. It's a little bit rough. Their Cadillac Fleetwood, and then you can see the BMW in front of it, and then you can see the Studebaker Hawk to the left. So that was back in the day. And this is a 65 Cadillac. Now that one had 2038 Virginia reserve tag. That's not anywhere near as cool, because it's got to be below 2000 to get the special treatment. And so we worked our way down. We started with higher numbers, and then I got a contact in the commissioner's office, and we were able to get the special ones under 2000 for me and a couple of my buddies. And there is the view of the 65 Caddy. It was really a comfortable car. It had the cloth interior, and it was just super, super comfortable. That was a nice one. All right. I like to run Fleetwoods whenever possible. And there's the XL500 Honda motorcycle, XL500. We ran that thing hard, and it was a lot of fun. And my buddy bought that BMW new. That was brand new, that BMW that you see in the photo there. It was brand new. So that could date this photo, maybe if you guys know what year that BMW is. Then we'll know. What were the BMW 2002s like? A lot of them rusted a lot. You had to be careful. Some of them were pretty rough, but if you got a good one, they were okay. They were nothing to write home about. Wouldn't be what I would buy. Now this one, folks, can you spot the Rolex? Can you spot the Rolex in the photo? Okay, so this is a dinner that we had at the Hunan restaurant in Rockville. That's Jeannie. You probably recognize her again. And that's Jeannie. And to the left, that's Paige, her younger sister. And that is Steve Young, the owner, holding that fish dish in front of her. And you notice he's got a bark finish Day-Date, an 1807 Day-Date on wrist. And that is Steve Young. He was the proprietor of the restaurant. We ate there often. We loved that place. The food was absolutely amazing. And he was also an advertiser on my dial-a-service displays. He loved being on the display in the Bethesda Marriott and the Bethesda Holiday Inn. He got a lot of business from those. So he loved that. And he treated us right when we went in there. 320i in the photo. Yes, I believe it was, David. My guess is 1978 or 79, judging from the BMW 328. Yeah, that would be the right time frame. Absolutely, that would be the right time frame. Okay, so let's go next. Here's just another photo of Jeannie. Let's go back again so you guys can take one more look at that 1807 before we go off of that. Again, Steve Young. He wore it a little bit loose on wrist. Okay, and there's Jeannie taking a bite of that. It's probably the lobster or something. I don't know what she was, maybe not. That doesn't look like, looks like the dish next to the lobster. And that's Mary Beth with the smile on her face. Both of them were absolutely gorgeous. And that's Paige, the younger sister at the time. And that's, again, the dial-a-service display in the Bethesda Holiday Inn. That was a promotional photo that we took of that, and there they all are. That's Mike and Jeannie and Paige. Just another promotional photo. And that's Mary Beth working in the office at Auto East, our car lot on Rockville Pike, which opened in June of 1980. And she was helping out with some secretarial work, and so I just snapped a photo of her doing that. That's 1980, so I would have been about 22. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay, so let's see. Yes, my parents owned a 320i, great car. Sorry, I can't say. I just wanted to pop. I can't stay. Just wanted to pop in, but get ready to head to work. Oh, during the house. See you on Wednesday's show. Take care, fellas. Okay. Hey, take care of yourself. Cheetown Craig, I heard that there are Korean restaurants in Annandale, Virginia, but what about D.C. area? Well, my gosh, there's all kinds of ethnic restaurants of everything you can think of. In Bethesda, there's like something like 300 restaurants. It's insane. So they're all over the Washington, D.C. area. All kinds of restaurants. You will not have any problem finding restaurants. Okay, so let's pop off of this picture of Mary Beth, and this is the lot at Auto East, and the way we did this is we got an electric car franchise, which then allowed us to sell used cars, because in Montgomery County, Maryland at the time, you could not get a used car dealer's license. It was just impossible. So what we did was we got a couple of electric car franchises, and those are Unique Mobility Electrics, the two on the left. And that van was an electric van. I forget the name of that company. And then we also had the City Cars franchise. I forget the what they actually called the City Cars at the time, but it was basically a city car. And so we had 3 different franchises. And so that, since we had a new car dealer's license, that allowed us to then sell used cars. So that was our workaround to be able to sell used cars. And these are a bunch of cars that we took up to an auction up in Pennsylvania, and a cruise auction up in Pennsylvania. We used cruise auctions often. We went to Pennsylvania, both to the Lancaster auction, and then we would also go to the Atlantic City auction as well. And then I also took a real nice Cadillac I had out to their auction in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We'll see that later on. So let's keep moving along. There's the 65 Caddy again. It was a really nice car. Really, I think it had about 60,000 original miles on it. It was a good one. And there's a 1958 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham, extremely rare car that had the suicide doors and had the stainless steel roof, and it had mouton carpets. I think one of like 1,300 made or something, or some ridiculously low number. It had very low mileage. I think that car had like 1,000 miles on it when we got it. And just an amazing, amazing vehicle. Air suspension all the way around, just all kinds of cool stuff. Those bumpers are like cast aluminum. Very, very amazing car. And we bought it and took that to auction. Did pretty good on that one. Okay, and there's the Mercedes 300 SL Gullwing. Okay, and there's a Woodill Wildfire, and it's spelled, I think, let me see how you spell it. I forget now. It's, there it is, Woodill. It's a 1958 Woodill Wildfire. That was a rare bird. And we painted it and put the interior in it and took it to auction. There's the 69 Cadillac Eldorado. In that car, those are the original tires on it. And this picture was probably taken about 1979 or so. So it was about 10 years old. And it only had 22,000 miles on it. It was like new. And that's the one I took out to Tulsa, out to the auction. Drove it for a little while and took it out to Tulsa. That, unfortunately, camera shake, that picture's not clear. But it was like brand new, inside and out. There it is at the auction in Tulsa. And there I am going into Oklahoma with it. And there's a 1962 Caddy, I believe. That was actually my friend's car that we were getting some work done on, and I snapped a photo. And that's I believe that was a 65 Riviera. We had several Rivieras at different times, and I love those cars. Those were fun to drive. Those were nice cars. Let's see, Craig, did you ever attend one of those swanky house parties in McLean, Virginia? Oh, yes. We went to a lot of those kinds of functions, yeah. Especially after the polo matches, there would be different parties at different places, and sometimes they would be in McLean, and sometimes they'd be in Potomac, sometimes they'd be in Bethesda, but you'd get the word on, where the party was, and then, you'd show up. So that's how that worked. Let's see. Did that 65 Caddy have power front bench seat? It had, I think it had split seats. I don't remember for sure, though, now that I think about it. I thought it had split seats, but I know it was power, but I thought they were split. Craig, do you fly? No, I don't pilot. No. What a lot of folks don't realize is that in the 80s, there's still tons of 1960s and 70s cars still being daily driven. My first car was a 1980 Malibu, followed by a 1983 Chevette. Leon in the house. Just woke up to see the stock market made huge gains today. Yes, it did. So did Bitcoin. Craig, what was your favorite year for the Riviera? I like that. I think that might have been a 63. I don't remember now if that was a 63 or 65. I like that body style. They were really cool. I mean, they drove nice. They were comfortable. The seats were super comfortable. I drove that one for a while, too. Yeah, I like them. There's just something about those cars that's pretty cool if you get a nice one. Okay, so let's keep going. And there's that's a 4-cylinder Porsche. That, again, the 1968, I believe, with the I like the soft rear window, targa top, but that was a 4-cylinder 912 Porsche. Okay, and there's another shot of it. And to date this photo, you see the Caprice, the 4-door Caprice. That would have been a demonstrator. So that was a brand new car back then. That was my buddy was working at Stevens Chevrolet at the time, and he actually recruited me to come to work at Stevens Chevrolet, and that's another story, and we'll get to that. But that's I believe that's a Pontiac behind that car, and that was factory air conditioned. I believe that's what that is in that picture behind the Chevrolet. So if anybody can date that Chevy, that would date the picture. I'm going to say it's about 1979-ish, be my guess. Okay, let's keep going. Another shot of the stunning 65 Cadillac. And there's a Dodge Diplomat. That was a demo. I worked at the Dodge dealer. That was the first car lot that I worked at as a new car salesman. And there is was that a 79? Probably a 79 Trans Am. Yeah, I think that was a 1979 that my buddy bought new. There's a paper tag on it. Richard bought that new. There's the back side of it. It was loaded to the gills. And there's another Diplomat demo, this time a four-door, because we made a trip to Philadelphia to go to the theater. And there's a Mercury. That was when I went to work at the Mercury dealer. See the dealer tag on it. And those were fun. Those Mercury Cougars, those were pretty cool cars to bang around in. And there I am on the Honda 350 motorcycle. Had that for a while. And there we are at the auction at Atlantic City, cruise auction. And there's a Ram Charger that I used because there was a big snowstorm. So again, that's from the Dodge dealer. And it was handy to have that available. There's that same Caprice. And there is the SO sign in the background of the garage. And then there is the Mercedes Gullwing in the garage with yours truly and Mark. I'm the blurry one, and that's because you can see from the previous photo. See, that's me wearing the suit. And there's a three-piece suit. Somebody asked about a three-piece suit. There's one. And there's Mark playing around, and with the Gullwing in the background, I was telling him, get the hell away from the Gullwing. So that's how that worked. And then this is the 1932 Rolls, and that is the car lot that was an old Sunoco gas station that we converted into Auto East, the electric car dealership that you saw the cars from earlier. So that's what it looked like before we got a hold of it and went to work on it. So taking a trip down memory lane, Craig, during what months are you in Florida? When was the last time you were there? It varies. I travel back and forth, and usually in the winter time. But with what's going on lately, I'm not traveling, unfortunately. Let's see. 912 Porsche is a rare one. Didn't get produced for long. There you go. Tom's in the house. My favorite Riviera was 86 to 93 with all the digital dash. Okay, I'm not familiar with those. That Trans Am makes me want a mullet and mustache. Was the Ram Charger from 1984? I remember that Blizzard. No. That would have been like the 79 Blizzard. That would have been more like 1979, 78-ish, because that's when I was working at the Dodge dealer. Let's see, 70. It would have been more like 78. Okay, so there is the Mercedes 300D. And the reason this is taken out at the air park is we had our shop out at the air park, and you'll see some pictures of that also. Okay. Oh, maybe that was a 240D. That might have been a 240D. I think that one was a 240D. I had both. Okay, so let's keep going here. And that is a loaded Dodge Magnum. Loaded Dodge Magnum. I mean, it was loaded. I ordered it for Johnny Fitzgerald, the owner's son, at the dealership, and we checked every box when we ordered that puppy. And then when he got done using it as a demo, I took it over, and I drove it for a while. And that was fun. That was a fun car. It had the 404 barrel heavy duty engine in it. It was loaded. There I am with a Ruger Blackhawk 357 Magnum. There you go. All right, keep going. This is a 1964 Imperial LeBaron, and that was loaded. It had dual air conditioning. It was supposedly originally owned by Jackie Kennedy. So there you go. From your experience, is this reputation for old Mercedes cars being long-lasting due to their build quality or because people dumped money into them? The older diesels, like the 240D and the 300D, and even the 300SD turbo diesel, those cars would last a long time. They were pretty rugged vehicles, and they weren't as hard to maintain as the gasoline models were a little more problematic, but those diesels were pretty good, and they would run a long time. The only issue was rust. Sometimes those would rust out. And also the horsehair in the seats would compress. And if they had a lot of miles, they'd get kind of compressed down. The seats wouldn't be very comfortable. But other than those two issues, they were pretty robust. Not like they are now. Now they're just a can of worms. I wouldn't mess with it. I wouldn't touch a Mercedes with a 10-foot pole these days. Just like I'd stay away from a Tudor, I'd stay away from a Mercedes, BMW, Volvo, any of those cars. Just get a Lexus and be done with it. If you want a luxury sedan or whatever, just get a Lexus and be done with it. No need messing around with those other vehicles. Too many problems. Let's see here. Dad had a 240D, kept it forever, immaculate with 500,000 miles. Wow. My folks had a 240D, nice car, but slow even with the stick. School buses used to pass us on hills. Yeah, they were sluggish, but, you know, once you got them up to speed, they were fine. You know, no problem. The 300D was a little bit better. Now, once they got the turbo diesel, that was a lot better, but I had no problem even with the 240D. We did fine. Okay, let's see. I remember another weak spot with those old diesel Mercedes were degrading vacuum lines. Maybe. I didn't have that problem, but maybe. Yeah. Okay, so here's another shot. This is the place out at the air park that I mentioned, the shop. And there's that Mercedes again on the right, and there's a Riviera right there with the trunk open. And then we were unloading some stuff, a fold-out couch and some other things. And you can barely see inside the door is a 57 Chevy station wagon, of all things. And then that's an Imperial convertible, Chrysler Imperial convertible. And then I guess a Chevy convertible in front of that. Bunch of rolling stock. Okay, so we'll keep going. And here we are getting ready to go into the auction at Cruise Auction with these vehicles. Run them through the auction, see what happens. And then this is inside the shop. And what do you guys think that is in the foreground? What do you think that is in the foreground, folks? Who can guess, before I show the rest of the car, who can guess what vehicle is in the foreground? Put it in the chat. Let's see how smart you guys are. Let me know what vehicle is in the foreground. And it shouldn't be hard. This should not be a hard one for you guys. Let's see who gets that right first. I think somebody's going to get it right first. Craig, do you have any experience with Peugeots? Yes, I had a 504 diesel. And it was a fun little car. And my brother-in-law had a 505, I believe, turbo diesel. The predecessor... whatever came after that, I guess it's predecessor. But anyway, yes, I think they're kind of cool. They're not anywhere near as good as the 240D and the 300D. Those were just bulletproof, robust cars. They would be my first choice. The Peugeots could potentially give trouble. So, yeah, but they were fun. They ride nice. Okay, so growing up in Columbia, Maryland in the 1980s, the cars to have were Dodge minivans and Volvo 240DL sedans and wagons. I worked for the Volvo dealer, and I sold those for a while. Was that a Malibu or an Olds Cutlass? Kevin D. Cutlass. No, I'm talking about in the foreground of this picture, the vehicle with the roll bar. Come on, guys. Come on, the vehicle with the roll bar. The convertible. What is it? You can get it. Notice it has a Hurst shifter. You see that shifter? You can see the little shifter? Come on, guys. You can guess what it is. My first was a Peugeot 205, and my second was a 306. Okay. All right. I'm not familiar with those, but those might have been after the old 504. I believe it was a 504, the old one. This would have been early 70s? I don't know. I don't know when those came out. I had a 1977 Buick Electra, big boat. There you go. 504 diesel and Mercedes diesels. Those were the most widely used taxis in Morocco and the French-speaking West Africa. There you go. Yeah, it was a 504 diesel. Yeah, that's what I had. Okay, folks, nobody guessed it. I can't believe you guys can't guess this. Come on, guys. What's the car with the roll bar in the foreground? Come on. Somebody's got to know that. Somebody's got to know that. I'll give you guys the time for the delay. Somebody's got to type in there before I switch screens and show you what it is, you're going to say, man, I should have known that. I'll give you a hint. It would be extremely valuable today. Correct, 504 was made from 68 to 83. Yeah. Yeah, I think the one I had was from the early 70s. Okay, all right, I'm going to show you. You guys didn't get it. I can't believe it. Okay, there's another picture. Let's show you this picture and see if you can get it off this picture. This one's got to be the giveaway. What is that vehicle, folks? What is that vehicle? Again, I'll give you a hint. They're extremely valuable today. If you had that vehicle today, you'd be sitting pretty. What is that vehicle? Let's see if somebody puts it in the chat. Somebody says, Stag, is that a Shelby? Blue, yes, it's a Shelby. What Shelby is it? What Shelby is it? It would be very valuable today. What Shelby is it? Okay, let's see if he puts Corvette Spider. No, it's a Shelby. Blue got it. All right, I'm not going to dwell. We're going to keep going. I'll show you what it is. There it is. It's a Shelby 1968 GT 500 KR convertible with the 428 Cobra jet. So that is a 1968 Shelby GT 500 KR convertible, and had some fiberglass damage in the front. You see there, but we got the parts and we fixed it. So that's what that was. And there's the, in the foreground there's that Imperial that was originally owned by Jackie Kennedy, and then that's a Chrysler 300 to the left of that. That car was really sweet. That was a super low mileage car. I think that car had like 13,000 miles on it. That was a Lincoln car. It's not, okay, wow, winner, chicken dinner. Blue gets a GS hat as a prize. Yeah, if he comes to the event, I'll give him a hat. When Steve has his next event, I'll give him a hat. Thanks. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's see what we got next. We're dragging our heels here a little bit. We got to move along faster. There's the Craigster operating a buffer. There you go. I'm operating a buffer. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about Craig operating a buffer? I'm buffing that Imperial convertible, that Chrysler Imperial convertible, 1965, I believe it was. Chrysler. And there we are driving through Vegas, and I snapped this photo. We were in the Corvette, and I snapped this photo of a Corvette with no tags on it there in Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas. There's the Corvette when we were leaving my buddy Richard's house, ready to drive to California in that brand new silver anniversary Corvette. Me and Mike, my buddy Mike, helped with the driving, and we made it out there in like 3 or 4 days. We had to stop at the at my great uncle's farm and fool around there for a day or so, but we made really good time in that Corvette. I'll tell you we did. Yeah. Okay, so let's keep going. There's that Imperial that I was buffing. And there I am, 400 miles from Los Angeles, and unfortunately that's the last photo of the trip that I have because I didn't load the camera properly for the next 36-shot roll. So the photos I shot in Hollywood, in oh geez, I can't remember the name of the place. Malibu. That's where I stayed because our Eileen had a place in Malibu, and I had to stay there for 2 or 3 weeks because I had to literally title the car like I was moving there. I had to title it because it was an L82 4-speed Corvette, which was not legal in California. So I had to title it in there like I was moving to California. They let you do that, right? And so I had to title it, tag it, and then sell it to him. And so I had to stay there for like 2 or 3 weeks. And all the photos I took some epic photos. None of them, the film and the camera was not advancing. So I had no photos. That was really, really sad. But I did make $5,000 on the deal, so that worked out okay. Plus all expenses. I made $5,000 plus all expenses. And we stopped on the way out at some, Chevy dealer, and they had a pace car on the showroom, Corvette pace car. So there you go. Um, I got a 2013 Orca, okay? A whale. Camping out for 2 to 3 weeks in Malibu sounded like a painful sacrifice. Oh, it was. It was, absolutely. And you see people like Farrah Fawcett, like, jogging down the road. Yeah, it was rough, rough duty. And driving around in a silver anniversary Corvette L82 4-speed that wasn't available in California at the time. Yeah, that was okay. That worked out. There we are in a snowstorm in Arizona, in Flagstaff, Arizona. We drove up the mountain and got caught in a freak snowstorm. And this guy's got this Toyota with chains on it and everything. We're driving through there, and we're driving through there in a silver anniversary Corvette. That just shows you that we don't really give a you know what, right? So there you go. And there's Mike in the driver's seat and with a nice shot of that long road in the background. Headed out west. Headed out west. And there's another picture of us getting ready to leave. I'm making sure all the paperwork is in order and that I've got everything that I need. And we're getting ready to get in the car and roll down the road. It was clean in that picture. Didn't stay clean for long when you're on the road running. But there you go. And notice the Craigster's even wearing a suit even then. So that's how that works. Oh, can't see the photo. I'm sorry. Was I not showing the photo? There's the photo. What photo can you not see? Cannot see photo, Craig. Let me go back and see which ones you didn't see. I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't have it switched right. There's that photo. Just going to go back and show a few photos that maybe you didn't see. Maybe I screwed up. So I'm going back. Okay, so now I'm going to go back through. Hopefully you saw everything up until then. So I got to remember to switch the camera. And there's Melinda in the L82 4-speed. This is out when we went to visit my great uncle. This is Melinda, who worked on the farm a lot, and I knew her from the farm. And she was down in Blytheville, Arkansas at the time, which was a couple hours drive down. So we went ahead and went down and visited Melinda and let her drive the Corvette. She was thrilled with that. Let's see here. Snowstorm photo. Okay, so I went back and showed that. Okay, sorry about that. All good now. Okay, so let's go back, and there's Melinda, the lovely Melinda, and then there's me sitting in at that same place where we took the picture of Mike and the Corvette. There's me with the road in the background. I don't know why we took that. And there's me on the horse at my uncle's farm. I don't do that often. I'm not a real horse person, but it was what it was. Now, there's a 1979 Corvette that we bought new and sold to a gentleman down in Georgia. At the time, Corvettes were a little dicey to get, especially some of the models. And so since we both worked at Stevens Chevrolet, we were able to get one for $500 over cost at the time as an employee. And so I got the silver anniversary, and Bob got the that 79 Corvette. And so he sold that to a guy down in Georgia and made a nice little profit on that. Let's see, Carlos, next to Maryland too, they're in the same place. Okay. Somebody got timed out. Uh-oh. Lamont was misbehaving. Watch it, Lamont. Don't get sideways to the wrench gang, because they will take care of you. Notice in the background is the Honda 350, two-cylinder Honda 350, and then the 1968 Porsche in the background there. See how all this ties together? And there is a Shelby GT350. That one's a GT350 that we went up to New York to get and hauled back. And we pulled it back. We used my demonstrator from the Mercury dealer that I was working at the time to pull that back. You'll see a picture of that in a little while. That's pretty funny. Craig, what was the most sought-after Corvette at the time? Well, new, the silver anniversaries were hard to get, and the pace car was hard to get. The pace car from that, I believe it was the same year, 1978, that they were the pace car. That black one that you saw in that earlier photo, those were very hard to get. The silver anniversary was very hard to get. Most of the new Corvettes were dicey to get back in the day. Now, a used one, 67 was always the most popular year. 1967 Corvette Roadster is still very, very popular. Okay, so let's go on. And there's a Volvo. I think that's a 540. I forget the model that's called. This is about a 1963, something like that. But I don't even know why we bought that. It was a modified car, but it was kind of fun. But I think we got it pretty cheap. And that's my Fleetwood in the background, my 1971 Fleetwood that got wrecked at some point, and we put a 1972 front clip on it. So it became a 1971-72. Some guy cut in front of me, and I creamed him, and he was in a Chevette or something. His car was totally demolished, and ours needed a bumper and a hood and a fender or whatever, and we put that on it, and it was back on the road. No problem. And a Chrysler New Yorker in the background there. So that's that picture. Now this is a really cool dancer that we met in Atlantic City when we went to the auction in Atlantic City. I met her and connected with her and all. And then we ended up going to Philadelphia and taking her to see a chorus line. Her and her girlfriend and my buddy, we double dated to the Forest Theater to watch a chorus line. And that was fun. That was a really fun thing. And she was like really cool. And I like dancers anyway. Who doesn't like dancers? Let's see. Do you like the new Vets? No, I would pass on them myself. I'm not a big fan, but they're okay. I recommend visiting Pierce Brothers, Westwood Village, Memorial Park in LA. A lot of iconic people resting there. Okay. I think out of that generation of Corvette, the 1982 model with the hatch that opened was my favorite. But as a child, one of my of the 1980s, 84 to 96 was my favorite Vet. Okay. PV 544. Yeah. And I put it in the description exactly on the Volvo. Let's see. All right, so let's go on to the next photo. And there's the back of the Cadillac. That car was really in nice shape. It had 60,000 original miles, garage kept, one owner car, bought from a family in Bethesda. And it was a 1971, and I would have bought it in around 1980 or so, 1980-ish. So it was like, 9 years old or so at the time, low mileage. There's another shot of it. And I loved those cars. I loved running those cars. They drove great. They were great road cars. They had plenty of room in the back seat. They checked all the boxes for me. Big trunk. If you had to tow something with them, you could. And there's another picture of me with the dancer and her friend. And there's my sister Robin. My lovely sister Robin. She's wearing some kind of a watch there. I don't remember what it was. And there's Laura, my other lovely sister Laura. Both of them gorgeous, as you can see. And there's me, yours truly. Can't tell what watch I'm wearing. It was probably a Day-Date under that sleeve. I think I can see a little gold popping out there. And again, there's a three-piece suit. That was a Yves Saint Laurent. I don't wear those kind of suits anymore. That's kind of more like a designer type thing. The lapels were a little bit wide. And see, that tie is a little bit wide, but that's a sign of the times. That was probably around 1978-ish, maybe 77 maybe. Pretty early shot there. Let's see. We're still live, I think. Okay. Chat broke on me, didn't freeze screen here. Okay. I think Lamont Jackson is my brother. Chip wrong. Okay. Never knew you had sisters. There you go. I had three. One has passed away, unfortunately. If you ran into that Corvette driver with it was a Chevette driver. Yeah, Chevette. I'm sorry. I misread. With the Imperial LeBaron, then he probably would have been demolished as well. Oh my gosh, yes. That would have done him, man. All right, so let's go to the next one. Here's Craig getting some air, boss. Getting some air on the XL500 Honda. Those are a beast. That's a single cylinder 500cc single cylinder. That's the on-off-road version, the XL500, and that is a beast. You can't break them. There we are. We went to the beach. We went to, I think, Delaware, the beach in Delaware, and that's Jeannie, the one that got away on my right. And that is, I forget her girlfriend's name, the one next to me. She was gorgeous. Damn, I can't remember her name. And then that's Mary Beth, her younger sister, in the green shorts. And that is a brand new Lincoln Mark V. That's what we used to drive to the beach. A Lincoln Mark V, and that was a demonstrator at the time. And so maybe you guys can date that. Maybe you can date the year on that. It was brand new at the time. Let's see. P1800 was Roger Moore's favorite car at some point. Okay. Oh, yeah. I've had one of those too. You still have that boat? No. Honda is the Grand Seiko of motorcycles. There you go. Chrysler Imperials were banned from demolition derby events because of how indestructible they were. Uh-oh. How Honda Goldwing is a GS of motorcycles. There you go. Craig had a chubby phase. I wasn't that chubby. Come on. That's not too bad. Maybe a little chubbier than now, but I wouldn't call that chubby. But anyway. All right, so here's you're getting ready to go to another auction. Had a bunch of cars there. Had a limo. Had a Mustang convertible. It looks like another Chrysler convertible of some sort. Another Cadillac. A Chrysler 300 behind that Cadillac. Then some other convertible there. A couple of other convertibles. There's an Eldorado convertible. So anyway, we're getting ready to go. Obviously, getting ready to go to another auction at that point. Let's see. Go green shorts. Okay. All right, so let's keep going here. Here we go. If the car dealership ever knew how I was using their demos, that's a demo from the Lincoln Mercury dealership. You know, you could get those rental hitches, you know, that you could slap onto the bumper, right? And then you could tow. Oh wait, some idiot's trying to call me. Anyway, you could slap those those hitches on the bumper and then tow a trailer with them, right? And so we went up to New York State and picked up that Shelby convertible and pulled it back. And of course, I never told the dealer, right, that's that's what I was doing with their demo on my day off. There's another shot of the Shelby up on the trailer. Oh boy, they would not have been happy about that. And remember, I told you we'd show you Paul Faupel again. There's Paul Faupel, and he is the one again that bought several watches for me. Of course, unfortunately, we can't see what watch he's wearing there. He's probably wearing the red sub. And there he is at a party of some sorts. And that is Paul Faupel that you've seen in that video where he shows off, where he was at Little Treasury Jewelers, remember? And talking about the watches that he's bought for me. Okay, I bet your neighbors loved you with all those cars. Yeah, they weren't always there. I mean, we'd usually have 3 or 4 or 5 there, but, you know, we were just getting ready to go to an auction, so we brought them all there. A lot of them we kept out at the warehouse. We could fit 5 or 6 cars in the warehouse at that time. And then I'd usually, you know, have them spread out different places. So, yeah, we tried to be a little bit considerate. Craig, what did you think of the Mustang II? Not much. Got one with a V8. They were halfway decent, but no, they weren't much of a car. Kyle Jett, I have the Kamasu in green. Great watch, and I sent a pic of it to Craig last week. Yes, absolutely. I'd highly recommend it. Yes. Was that a Shelby 1968? I think that was a 68. Yeah, exactly. GT350. Both of them were 68s. The earlier one we saw was a 1968 also. Yes. What type of Lexus would you recommend to buy? A big sedan, an LS 400 sedan, LS 430 sedan, LS 460 sedan. They're fantastic, and you can get a deal on them. My next door neighbor has 12 cars in their garage. Everyone in the neighborhood hates it. Oh, I can imagine. All right, let's see what we got next going up here. Oh, there's the Craigster. There's the Craigster. Unfortunately, we can't tell what watch I'm wearing in that picture, but we'll see one here in a little bit. And that's me with Roland and his wife, Janie, and then my ex-wife, Christine, on the left, and me wearing some kind of a suit. I'm not sure. I can't tell because of the lighting. And I still have that tie, by the way. I still have that tie. And there's Christine on that's a special edition Harley that you can only get if you're a police officer. And my buddy ordered that. His son was a police officer, and so he was able to finagle ordering that. And so that was his full dress Harley. And we'll see a picture of my full dress, one of my full dress Harleys here in a bit. That was an ultra classic like that one. That one you see in the picture, that's an ultra classic. That's loaded up. Do you like GS Godzilla Spring Drive? Yes. Yes, I think it's kind of cool. I wouldn't be for me, but yes, I think it's cool. And there I am wearing a 3/4 size Datejust. That's a 3/4 size Datejust that I bought with water damage, and I had it serviced at Rolex. It had a white gold bezel and Jubilee bracelet. And it's kind of small. I grant you it's kind of small, but it worked. I wore it for a while. I ended up selling it, but I wore it for maybe, a year or so. And it was super comfortable because it was just a 3/4 size Datejust. It was technically a man's Rolex, but it was what they called the 3/4 size back in the day. So there you go. There's a Rolex for you back in the day. And there's another shot of Paul Newman wearing that Daytona. There I am again wearing the same event, wearing the same tie, same suit. And that's the same photo again, isn't it? Or is it not? Anyway, maybe it's the same. Maybe it's not. Okay, so here's the BMW Z3 that I bought new in 1996. That was the first one that VOB BMW got in. And it had the black leather interior. It was loaded up. And notice I had the cellular antenna on the deck lid. And yes, I had them drill a hole in the deck lid. Everybody used to give me a hard time for drilling a hole, right? But I wanted to get good reception, and I thought it looked better to have a drilled hole than to have some like magnetic thing or whatever with a cable like fishing over the deck lid or some sort of nonsense, or have something, worse yet, have something stuck on the windshield sticking up. I just think it looks classier to have that cellular antenna on the deck lid like that. So that's why I did that. So there you go. Tires that outlive marriages, luxury to last. Okay, ties that outlive marriages. Here I am misreading that again. Okay, that's a good point. Did the water damage watch keep good time after you had it? Yes, they came back repaired. It was fantastic. It was great. And I got a great deal on it when I bought it, of course, because of the water damage. Was that 34 millimeter Craig? It might have been. It might have been. They called it at the time 3/4 size, but yeah, it might have been 34 millimeter. I'm not sure. Those Z3s were cool. A little bit underpowered, but they were cool. Didn't know. I made some good money on that, by the way, when I resold it, because they were really hard to get at the time. Didn't know you were married. Yes, unfortunately, yes, I was. Actually, I shouldn't say unfortunately. It wrapped up fine. It was amenable. Is that the word? Amenable? But anyway, there's another shot of the Z3 at the Promenade Towers complex in Bethesda, which is where I was living at the time in 1996. There's another picture of, that was the second time I was living there, by the way. And there's a picture of an old mansion that was actually abandoned, and that's my buddy's 1953 Patrician, Packard Patrician with factory air conditioning, believe it or not. Factory. Lamont, if you keep trolling in the chat and making stupid comments or whatever, we're just going to block you, okay? This is a troll-free zone. So if you're a 15-year-old and you're in your basement with short arms and stuff, we're going to just kick you right out of here, okay? You will be gone. Let's see. Okay, so there we go. All right. So that's how we deal with trolls. Let's keep moving along here. We've got to move along fast. Got a lot of stuff here. Okay, I took a lot of pictures of some other pictures just to preserve them. So I did this yesterday, so I figured I'd show some of these. So that's the leather, the optional leather interior in the Z3. So, oh, I liked this car. This was not anything that super special. It was just an Impala two-door hardtop. Again, you notice the tag number, 1238 on it. And I drove that for, I don't know, 6 months or so. And it was just a neat car, factory air conditioning. It was pretty well equipped and just kind of a fun car. I think that was about a 1968 or 69, something like that. I don't remember exactly what year that one was. Let's see. Writing in all capital letters is sure to get you booted out. Wrench gang in the house. Yeah, Wrench gang does not put up with a lot of nonsense. I've been noticing that. That's good. Here's another picture of the lovely Tara. What's that on her wrist? Yes, that is a lady date on her wrist. I believe it was steel and gold. I should remember because I gave it to her, but it's so long ago. I just can't remember. She was lovely. I really enjoyed spending time with the lovely Tara. Okay, and there is the BMW again from VOB. Another shot of it. And there's yours truly with the BMW. And by the way, I still have those shoes, those boat shoes. They're still in halfway decent shape. Of course, I still have the Ray-Bans. Don't wear them that often. And I believe that might have been the 3/4 size Datejust on wrist right there. That might have been what was on wrist right there. I'm not sure. And there's my dark green and black two-tone Harley Ultra Classic. That would have been a 1996, I believe. Yeah, and that was brand new. Fuel injected. And there's my buddy, Richard, and that he is wearing a GMT with the black bezel on a Jubilee. And we actually both wore one of those for a period of time. I wore, matter of fact, I think it was the same watch. I think I wore it for a while, and then I think I sold it to him. I think that's how it worked. I don't remember how all these things worked sometimes, but yeah, I believe that was the one that I bought, and then I sold to him. And then I bought the Coke one after that. I believe that's how that went. And I kind of regretted it because I liked the Jubilee bracelet more than the Oyster. And there's the office at Auto East. And that was a comfortable freaking car. This is a 1968 Bonneville Brougham, loaded. It had every available option. It was a 4-door hardtop. It had the 428 engine. And it sucked gas. I mean, it used gasoline like nobody's business. But that thing was super comfortable. It had the almost like silk seats in it. And it had split seats, power on both sides. And it was loaded to the gills. And I drove that for probably a year. Maybe even longer than that. That was a fun car. Oh, there's me wearing the Rolex with the Jubilee. All black bezel and looking very smug. So yeah. Let's see. Oh, there's another picture of the BMW. And there's the roller again. Another Mercedes. And that's a DKW Jeep. Don't see those often. German. Now there's my buddy Mike. And he was wearing a steel and gold Datejust, and he had to put a strap on it because his wrists are huge, and he just didn't have enough links and didn't want to buy extra links. So that's him wearing the Datejust at the Rockville Car Show and eating a barbecue sandwich. So let's see. There's a lot. Okay, Tara was great. But like Craig says, used cars, watches, women, and move on. Get their best years and move on to the next best thing. Kyle Jet in the house. This is a lot of motor Cycle. I'm not sure what that means. Craig, are those boats Sperry's? Yes, those were high-end Sperry boat shoes. I still have them. Sometime I can show them. First time I heard of that brand, what brand? I'm not sure what he's talking about. The Bonneville had a low license plate number. The Bonneville. What Bonneville? Not sure what Bonneville you're talking about. Oh, are you talking about... Let's go back. Oh, the Brome? Let's go back. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That had 1593 on it. Yeah, that was before I got down to the 1298. It also has a medical badge on there. See the medical badge? So that I could, like, park a lot of different places. We use every trick in the book, folks. Every trick in the book. All right, so there's Mike. So there's my buddy's 1953 Packard Patrician. And notice the scoops on the rear quarter panel. That's because it's factory air conditioned. Very, very rare to see a 1953 Packard Patrician with factory air conditioning. And that's at the Rockville Car Show. Beautiful car show I used to go to every year. Steve, unfortunately, scheduled his fall event on the same day. So the last couple of times I missed this show. Now here's Ralph Bennett, who was a writer for Reader's Digest magazine and a good friend of mine. He's polishing his, I believe that was a 1949 Cadillac. And he could really put a shine on a Cadillac. No doubt about it. And I love the fedora that he was wearing in that shot. Packards were really nice at one time. There you go. Craig in motion. Absolutely in motion. And there's Richard again wearing the Rolex on wrist. And in the background is Russell, another friend, and he was most likely wearing a Rolex, but of course we can't tell in this shot. And Richard is leaning on a Packard Caribbean convertible, very rare Packard Caribbean convertible. Craig sold his Day-Date a while ago. Cheetown's in the house. He's just trolling Craig. I told him multiple times he sold the Day-Date. Yeah, if he keeps trolling, just block him. Whoever has to block him. Or if I need to block him, just let me know and I'll block him. He's just an idiot. He's just being an idiot. And there's Richard. Nice bomber jacket in his hand. And there's the Caribbean convertible in the background. And there's a 1953 Packard convertible owned by Mike, the gentleman who was wearing the Datejust earlier. He's still got it on wrist in that picture. And that's the 53 Packard convertible. And in front of that is a Packard limousine, I believe also a 1953. And that is George Hamlin polishing that a little bit. They've either just gotten back from the Rockville Car Show or they're headed there. I think they just got back from the Rockville Car Show because Richard always had a party after the show, and a lot of the Packard and Cadillac people always went to his parties. Let's see. Did Richard scoff at the idea of owning a Tudor? Oh, yeah, none of us would consider Tudors. None of us. I'm waiting on prices to fall on the roll. Yeah, it's happening now, I think. Hello, every time you say Richard wearing a Rolex, I think you're talking about me because I'm wearing a GMT Tri-Force Rich. Sweet Packard convertible. There you go. Okay, so let's keep going. And there's a sky view of Richard's house. It was on a dead-end street, and so you had plenty of parking there for a bunch of cars. And there were many times when we utilized every bit of it. And there's the Packard with the top down. He still has that car, by the way, my buddy Mike. And there's the Caribbean coming back from the paint shop without the bumper and everything on it. And in the foreground, believe it or not, that's a 1966 Dodge Dart loaded. And it had a V8 in it and factory air conditioning. A 1966 Dodge Dart, top of the line model with a V8 and factory air. That was pretty wild. Keep going. Look at that. I think we're to the end of the vintage photos because now we've got Der Stiefel's Omega. There you go. So that might be it. I think I have others, but this is the batch that I just did. There were some others that I did not show that I had already taken photos of, and some of these were duplicates. I just went through and just took pictures yesterday with my 24 megapixel camera of a bunch of these just to kind of preserve them. And some of them I had done in the past, and I just didn't know which I'd done, so I just did them all just to be on the safe side. Any of them that I had any real reason to do. There are a bunch of other pictures that I didn't even bother. Let's see. Some of the older Tudor watches are not bad. I have a 1983 Tudor Diver, Leon in the house. Stu, I like cars. Dart Swinger, there you go. Just as a reminder, folks, the Tudor we know of today is not like the Tudor back then. Tudors then used gold fill and had basic ETA movements. Yeah, I would pass on all of them. I don't think there's any reason to have a Tudor on God's green earth. Just buy something, buy a real watch and be done with it. Craig, did you ever have a Lexus? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had a LS 400. We had a GS, a 1999 GS, I believe it was a GS 300 with the inline 6-cylinder rear drive. That was I bought from my wife at the time, Christine. And I had a 2002 LS 430 that I bought new, LS 430. Both that and the 1999 LS 400 I drove quite a bit, and I loved them both. Fantastic. I would still have the LS 430 if it wasn't for the fact that I needed something that I could easily load the Segway into the back of, and that was tricky to get the Segway up and into that trunk. It was a pain in the neck, and so that's why I ended up getting the Prius so that I could use 2 ramps and just drive the Segway right up in, basically power it right up into the back of the Prius without any issues. So it's a lot easier. So that's really the only reason. But I do like the Prius too. It's fantastic. So this will be a fun episode to watch on my walk. Looks like you guys had a good time. Craig had a 1990 LS 400 and an LS 430 before he got his Prius. There you go. How did Tara get away? Oh boy, that's a story, but maybe for another day. They always get away. They all get away eventually. But she was fun. She was a good one. Let's see. How do you remember that? No Lexus SUV. Wonder why. No, I'm not a big fan of SUVs. They're just top heavy. They don't ride good. They don't handle good. I'd rather have a high-end sedan. I don't really have a need for an SUV. Now, if I really needed an off-road vehicle, if I really needed that kind of capability, I would get a Land Cruiser. Wouldn't even be a close call. I would get a Toyota Land Cruiser. Now, I had a Range Rover, and I had a Series 3 Land Rover that we had at the mountain place, at the cabin, for specifically for off-road use, right? But I wouldn't want one for just standard everyday use. There's no reason for it. Why would you drive something that's going to kind of beat you to death when you can get a sedan that just drives fantastic and handles great? It just makes a lot more sense to me. Don't sell your Rolex Day-Date. It's an iconic watch. What's with these trolls? What's with these Rolex trolls? Jeez, oh flip. Let's see here. No idea, Carlos. I'm good at remembering small details. There you go. No, all caps, Lamont, or else you're getting timed out. My first wrench banging, Triforge. I've been initiated. There you go. Lamont will be back with a different alias. I don't understand why Google allows people to just create these aliases just willy-nilly. Why don't they make it a little bit harder? You know, at least Twitter, you have to have a unique email address each time you do it. I mean, of course you can work around that, right? But in Facebook, it's even a lot harder, right, to just create bogus accounts. But I just don't understand. I guess they don't care, you know. They just want as many accounts as possible, and they don't care if these grinders create a whole bunch of extra accounts. Let's see. We will block him, her again. Yeah, the wrench gang's right on top of things. All right. So did anybody send me any photos to show? I asked you guys at the beginning of the show if you have any old photos to show. I'd be happy to show them. And I don't see any in here. I don't see anything. I'm looking. Don't see anything. Yeah, I don't see anything, folks. What's going on with that? Don't you guys have any photos to share? Any old ones? Any old photos? Yeah. Wait, YouTube doesn't ban you based on IP. You just need to make side accounts. I don't know. I guess they can just go and make as many troll accounts as they want. Yeah, it's pretty bizarre. Pretty wild. I remember Chip Wong used to do that. He used to make accounts left and right. I've got him blocked like 4 different ways. What's the point? I mean, what do they think they're gaining by doing all this? I don't get it. Let's do a time check. We haven't done a time check for a while. My gosh, we've been going for an hour and 21 minutes. An hour and 21 minutes, folks. Oh, this is insane. Where does the time go? Your photo montage was just too good. Leon in the house. Chip Wong is a legend. Yeah. Here's the thing. Back in the day, we really didn't take that many photos. I mean, it's not like today where everybody just has a cell phone or whatever and you can easily just take photos and you can store them easily and all that. I mean, back in the day, we were shooting film. And it's like it wasn't convenient. And a lot of the time, we just didn't take photos. So yeah. And I know there's actually some photos that we didn't show. Let me see. Quick another time check. Let me see if I can pull up another set here. I don't understand. I should have gone into a set here. 235 items. Okay, yeah, because there were some photos that we didn't show. Oh, yeah. There's some photos in here we didn't show. Now, there's some that we did show. So what I'll do is I'll just blast through these real quick. And so I can skip the ones that we've already seen. All right, so give me a second here. Okay. So there's one with Mr. Sun. We're just having some fun. And that is the 3/4 size Datejust on my wrist there in that picture. All right. And there we've seen that picture. There's another one. And that is a Banana Republic camera bag there made by Billingham. And there's my Best of Everything book. So see, I'm an expert on the best of everything, right? And there's a model posing for a photo shoot that we did promoting the book. And then there's the BMW again. We've seen that. And there's the lovely Jennifer. We didn't see that in this last go around. The lovely Jennifer. She was a lot of fun too. Trust me, she was. And there we are. You can see the Rolex. That is the GMT II with the Coke bezel. That's got the oyster bracelet. So, and I'm wearing Featherlight boots that are made of kangaroo leather. I still have those. And I still have those Ray-Bans. Okay, and there's a couple more pictures of the lovely Jennifer. And there's me with a Porsche that we drove back from Texas. We drove 2 of them back, actually. Me and my cousin drove 2 of them back and bought them for resale. We bought them when they were having severe economic problems. I think it was around 1986 or so. They're having severe economic problems down in Houston. And we bought those cheap down there and drove them up and sold them up in the Washington, D.C. area. And I undoubtedly wearing a Rolex there. I don't know which one. Just can't remember. And there's a Series 3 Land Rover with John Harder next to it, who you saw earlier. Okay, and there's a Series 3 Land Rover again with the trailer behind it out at Ocean Pines North, my buddy's place. And there's that picture you've seen. There's a picture you've seen. There's a picture out at the farm, my uncle's, great uncle's farm. You've seen that picture. You've seen that picture. You've seen that one. You've seen that one. You've seen that one. You've seen that one. There's a jet boat picture. You've seen that. You've seen that. You've seen that. Didn't see both of those, but you saw one of those. You saw that. You saw that. Day-Date. Sylvester Stallone out at the... saw that. Saw that. Saw that. I think you saw those. I'm not sure. You saw some of those. Saw some of those. Some of those. You didn't see that one, but that's just boring. There I am on the Segway, the first Segway that I got, and that's a Day-Date on wrist. Day-Date on wrist. That was in about 2002 that I got that Segway, I believe. And there's a Rolex on wrist. And there's Richard out at the Hershey Car Show. Bentley in the background. There's Steve, and you can barely see his Day-Date poking out under the wrist. He's the owner of the Hunan, and that was at his restaurant in downtown D.C., another restaurant he had that was very elegant.